Hi, I'm Dr. Rob Graham. I'm the gigging drummer. Stay tuned. In today's episode, I'm going to share about a drum kit I got from legendary, iconic Canadian rock band, the Tragically Hip. Hi, welcome back. Glad you found me on YouTube. Probably you, like myself, over the last many years have found YouTube an incredible resource for teaching yourself new tricks, new licks. And I know myself, having been in the same classic rock cover band for the last 17 years, I've made tremendous use of YouTube for helping me with my chops. Before I go over today's episode where I share with you a really incredible memory that I have and an amazing drum kit that I obtained from legendary Canadian rock band, the Tragically Hip, I just wanted to give you some ideas about what you can expect from this particular channel. So my PhD and background is in teaching and learning, and most certainly I've spent a good chunk of my life working with educators, teaching myself and teaching others. So one of the things that I found lacking in some of the YouTube videos that I have been searching for many years is a community that just basically looks at the gigging drummer, some of the challenges, some of the realities, some of the tips for success. And so what I would like to do is try to share with you in our time together on this particular channel some things that I've learned over the course of my journey in drumming, and hopefully some things that can maybe help you. But I'd also like you to in turn share some of your tips and ideas for the rest of us in this particular community. Let's talk about today then. I'm wearing my Tragically Hip t-shirt, and if you're not from Canada and you're not familiar with the Tragically Hip, you might want to Google them. A little more than a year ago, Tragically Hip had a very emotional concert in Kingston, Ontario. Their lead singer, Gord Downey, had been diagnosed with terminal brain cancer, and they performed a concert, their last concert together with Gord singing. It was very emotional. The Tragically Hip has an incredible connection with many Canadians, and I am most certainly one of those. Today what I'd like to do is I'd like to share with you a drum kit that I obtained about 13-14 years ago from Johnny Fay and the Tragically Hip, and it was the actual drum kit that he used to record with and tour with on the World Container album. I've placed some pictures and some photos that I have with Johnny backstage, and I'll tell a little bit more about that story in particular. The way I came across this drum kit, again, I've been immersed in the internet for many years, and I've used it as a tool for connecting and for finding used drum equipment. And many years ago, I happened to stumble upon Just Drums in Toronto, Canada, 5-star drum shop. They had an Ayotte drum kit posted for sale, and one of the taglines was used by Tragically Hip drummer Johnny Fay. I'd always been interested in wood hoop drums, and in particular Ayotte drums, and if you know anything about boutique drums, Ray Ayotte was the founder of Ayotte drums based out in British Columbia. I'd always wanted a wood hoop Ayotte drum kit, but the fact that this was a kit that actually came from the Tragically Hip and had been played from Johnny Fay really intrigued me. You see, with a lot of the gear that I use, I'm really into vintage, and I like my gear to have a story. Probably psychological for me in the sense that, yeah, I get a different vibe now from playing a drum kit that I know was actually on stage with the Hip. That does something for me, may not for you, but for me there's a tremendous energy and vibe that comes from that. Also, just the story behind this drum kit, and actually having had that story told by Johnny Fay himself to me, makes this for me quite an iconic kit on many levels. So as the story goes, when I went to Just Drums in Toronto to pick up the drum kit, Johnny Fay was on tour. And I said to Dave from Just Drums, I said, Dave, I'd really like an opportunity to actually meet Johnny Fay if I do in fact purchase this drum kit. Dave said, well, I can arrange to get a letter and some memorabilia for you, and he most certainly did that. But where the story gets really interesting was as follows. I was teaching at Nipissing University at the time, and I recall coming back to my office, and there was a message on my voice machine, figuring it was a student maybe looking for a meeting and some support. I picked it up, And much to my surprise, it was the publicist for Johnny Fay from the Tragically Hip. They were to be playing in a week's time in North Bay at one of our summer festivals. And apparently, as the publicist told me, Mr. Fay and a lot of the band members always scout out the media in advance of a show. The local newspaper had done an article on the fact that Professor has Tragically Hip kit, and so I was interviewed, and I guess they had seen that. Johnny, making good on his promise, had invited my wife and I to go backstage before the concert just to have a little meet and greet. Now, Steve Clark, a local drummer, he actually persuaded me to bring the snare drum so that Johnny could take a look at it and we could kind of reminisce about the kit and he could actually sign it. I wasn't going to do that because I felt going through security and bringing the snare drum would be more effort than it was worth, but I'm so glad I did. I included in today's video some pictures of Johnny and I looking at the snare drum, talking about it, and most certainly he signed it. As Johnny informed me at that time, this was a drum kit that he had specially made for him in a special blue azure color, and he told me that his wife was really upset with him that he let that kit go. And if you're wondering why Johnny moved on from Ayotte drums, again, as Johnny told me, when they were touring around the world and over in Europe, he needed an actual drum sponsor that could provide kits for him. Ayotte, being a very small boutique type company, couldn't do that for him. So that was one of the reasons why he was kind of getting rid of some of his Ayotte kits at that particular time. So having said that, when I got a chance to meet with Johnny Fay and reminisce a little bit about the kit, my wife and I, of course, after that went out to watch the concert. Halfway through the concert, I recall getting a text or a phone call again inviting us to go backstage after the concert to meet and greet once again. It was kind of a rainy night and I was tired, and I said to my wife, I said, I don't know, maybe we should just head home. And I am so thankful that we persevered and we got a chance to go backstage after the concert, because I got some even further and deeper insights about drumming and music that have inspired me. One of the things in particular, as I said to Johnny, man, I love the sound of your cymbals. And so he shared with me some stories about the fact he was sponsored by Pasty, and I got some insights into giant beat cymbals. More about that in another episode. We'll go into that. In terms of the actual drum kit itself, in a moment what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around and I'm actually just going to do a quick little video and discussion about the sizes, because they are unique and they were special to Johnny. Johnny, from as I've been told from other drummers, he does like some unique sizes. And this particular kit, it has a 10 and a 13, a 16, and it also has an 18-inch floor that's an absolute cannon. Now when I gig, I don't play this kit all that often, but if we play private functions and I know that, you know, I'm pretty well protected and I've got a good space to set the kit up, then I'll bring it out. And it's amazing when I announce to the people at the show or wherever we're playing that, you know, there's a piece of rock history on stage. We always get a good amount of applause for that. Again, the Tragically Hip are very well loved in Canada, and I'm just so honored and so thankful to have this piece of classic rock history. Well, thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Really great sharing with you my piece of Canadian rock history, my Johnny Fay Tragically Hip Ayotte kit. In future episodes, I'll talk about some other kits that I play. Like I said, I tend to be a Yamaha recording custom guy. Love the feel and the sound of the vintage recording custom. So I'll talk a little bit about my 1981 recording custom kit. In the next episode, though, I'd like to share a little bit about a conversation I had with legendary drummer Kenny Aronoff. Kenny really transformed my thinking when I started to drum 17 years ago, and I was so glad I had that conversation. And I'd like to share a little bit about that, because I really believe some of what he shared for me all those years ago can really help you on your journey. Also like to thank Just Drums in Toronto. Thank you so much for allowing me to get this kit way back when. They've treated me well over the years. I bought lots of gear from them. They're a 5-star drum shop. They've been really good guys to deal with. So anyways, I hope going forward you'll subscribe to my channel. Make sure you click on the notifications and get ready. Next episode, Kenny Aronoff and something I learned from him way back. Keep on gigging. Thanks for tuning in.